Hmm.
I have met lawyers, I have met dentists, I have met engineers are very common, by the way. I feel like 50% of engineers are trying to become a designer. That's graphics is not a solution at all. Maybe design is not a solution at all. Maybe the solutions comes in some different way. That a lot of people, first of all, they don't connect psychology with UX. That was one gap. It is not the buffet of all the process which is a portfolio. It's not. They have no
Mhm.
idea how does UX team work. So whenever I
Hmm.
go to and meet the students, I try to at least.
Awesome, Alok. It's super nice having you here. Tell us a bit about yourself and how did you enter into this world of product building?
Hey, I'm Alok, and it's around 20 years around coming to this world of design. Started my career from graphic design, and then with time, the way kind of technology started moving, I also started upgrading myself day by day. And from graphic, I moved to web, then UI, then UX, then research, a lot of other stuff. So yeah, in last 20 years, I have worked for a lot of B2C, lot of B2B world, including Microsoft, Walmart, Magic Bricks, BlueStone, Vedantu, and kind of covered and touched a lot of different horizons for sure. And yeah, I I'll say that yes, design was not planned for me. 20 years back, I had no idea that I'm going to go in design world at all. But somehow I landed up here. I found this field very interesting and entered the world of graphics. And then with time, started generating a lot of interest in graphic web. And then suddenly, when UX came, I got a lot of interest in research somehow, meeting users, doing more of a user research. That landed me to do a lot of more stuff in UCD, user centered design. And that is where I am. I am now at Myntra. It's been good around 2 years now with Myntra. Loving what I'm doing for a lot of and million of people who are using Myntra. Yeah.
Yes. Super awesome. I always ask this question, and everyone has an answer which is personal. No one says, "Ki ye opportunity thi, so I just got into it." Everyone has a personal answer. Also, same for me. I had no clue of that I would be into design. I was pursuing my medicals, my medical studies, so that I can become a doctor. From there, I transitioned to academically being a techie and work-wise being a designer. Super interesting.
Somehow I feel that yes, design field has been very fascinating to a lot of people.
Right.
And since I meet a lot of students, a lot of people who are kind of transitioning to design,
Hmm.
I have met lawyers, I have met dentists, I have met engineers are very common, by the way. I feel like 50% of engineers are trying to become a designer. That's my assumption because I have been meeting a
Right.
lot. But I was surprised to meet dentists and lawyers and a lot of architect folks who wants to come in design field because that's looking very fascinating to everyone and people are doing great.
Right.
It's not that they're struggling. So yeah, good place and
Interesting.
awesome
Yeah.
place to be into right now.
Tell us a bit about that. Your interaction with the newer folks, newer designers. Where do you see them? Kind of making mistakes or missing out on stuff, and how they can improve.
So I see I have been very active in community. You might know that I'm also a founder of a community called Rethinking
G.
UX, which is around 52,000 UX folks around the globe now. And privilege is that I am able to meet a lot of people who are kind of aspiring UX designers, even the leaders who are in the industry. So that's how I kind of motivate myself or I keep learning. That is one. But even I do learn from a lot of students from colleges because that's what I have visited a lot of universities, including IIT Bombay, Chitkara University, a lot into Bhopal, a lot into MP and a lot of places, Surat, Gujarat, and I've been meeting a lot of different UX people, different students with a very different motivation that they wanted to come into this field because this is looking very fascinating to everyone nowadays, and people feel that this is somehow a easy one. I mean, because tech is going to be a very tough one. I have to write a lot of codes. It needs a lot of effort and a lot of stuff. So maybe design looks like I have to play with the colors. I have to play with some interesting graphics and pictures. So I'm going to love this. This is the visual part. Yes, this is interesting. This is very fascinating for sure. And touchwood, yes, interesting field to be into right now. But
Absolutely.
it's not mean that it's easy one. You really need to know a little bit deeper about your users. That is one big thing that I feel is missing in a lot of users, a lot of students who are trying to transition this field, or a lot of different vertical people who are into different profession right now, and they're trying to move to UX. They see just design means I learn Figma and I'm a designer. That is where I see the gaps are. One that you need to know bit deeper about your user, know little more about the user research, understand the reason why exactly you're designing. Those are few basics there where I see that things are kind of lacking. And even when they talk about the UX process and all, somehow for them the process has become just Figma. If I know Figma, all the tools, I can make awesome effect, I can make awesome graphics. That's how I'm going to become a designer. Yes, that's a part. I'm not saying you can ignore that. That has to be there for sure. You cannot ignore that for sure. But that is not all. That is one
Right.
part. So knowing more about the users, doing research, knowing more about all the process of UX, just solving a problem. There are a lot of different ways to solve that. There are a lot of process around that. It's just not by the help of graphics. A lot of time graphics is not a solution at all. Maybe design is not a solution at all. Maybe the solutions comes in some different way. That is where people need to learn. Knowing the basics of design, knowing the basics of all users, that is somewhere I feel is missing. And in fact, after interacting with a lot of designers, I realized that they feel like, why should I talk to users? I mean, am I a telecaller? It's not my job. My job is to design. I'm a designer. That is where I see there's a lot of misconception about the UX. It's not just the graphic design. You need to know, that's what we call a user experience design. You need to keep user at the forefront. You cannot ignore user and make design because you love something. So yes, I'll say basic perception, knowing more about user is something very like grounded thing you cannot ignore. Knowing about all the UX processes, kind of never compromise stuff. And of course, knowing more about the craft part, going deeper in the UX, and, understanding all the graphical element, colors, fonts, visual elements. Those are of course the basics where you need practice. But yeah, all these things are kind of very much important nowadays. Without that, it's going to be difficult to survive in the market. You'll enter, but of course, the growth depends upon all those things for sure.
Absolutely. And you 100% spot on. I see this around me as well. Like many techies kind of just wishing to switch to UX as if it's just a different fruit and you can just as
Yes.
easily transition. And I would love to circle back on this later about the terminologies and all the processes and all of that. But before that, I'm super curious about the Rethinking UX community. How did that come about and what's your ambition with it?
So it's around 4.5 years now. During COVID time, I started this with Mayur, who is VP UX at Sapien nowadays, publishes Sapien. And yeah, we started during the COVID time because we saw there's a lack of engagement with the users, engagement with the students, and engagement with the different designers to know each other. Kind of were missing. We had few very famous UX, I'll say. Conferences happening, but those were happening like yearly kind of stuff. And what I realized that this is not something that should be happening yearly. This is something should be happening very often. People should have an option to meet and understand from the industry. And I was in gaming that time, by the way, and I myself was feeling that being in gaming, going into a very niche category, am I missing on what's happening in e-commerce world, what's happening in edtech world, what's happening in fintech world, and all those stuff. That was one of the things coming in my mind as well. That how do I stay connected to the people who are in different world? And that was the reason or kind of a start of the origin of this rethinking UX as a community. Started around 4.5 years back. And the goal was to kind of connect all the aspiring designers to the all kind of designers, primarily mid-level, top level. Right now, coming to rethinking UX, aspiring designers can also contact to the people maybe sitting in Microsoft, Myntra, Flipkart, and anyone else, because those people have kind of enrolled that I am there to help others. And helping doesn't mean giving a lot of time. It could be even 15-minute discussion as well, can give some clarity around the whatever doubts a person has.
Absolutely.
That itself is a lot of time very enough. So yeah,
Yes.
it's been 4.5 years, and we have been to a lot of different cities as well. We have been to Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, now going to Chandigarh as well, and few more places. We have been doing a lot of conferences, a lot of design meetups, panel discussions, some talks, and the goal is again to help each other, help the designers learn more so that they can kind of brush up their skills, they can upskill and go to the next level. And also the reach of different kind of designer, the variety of designers and the variety of UX learnings that you have, kind of democratize that so that it's easier for everyone to learn and kind of grow with each other. Yeah, so that's going well, that's good, and we are doing great.
Awesome. I would love to attend it next time it's in Bangalore.
Sure, so
Tell us about the book, The Psychology of UX Design. It's an Amazon bestseller now. How did you write it and what kind of inspired you to write?
so I'll tell you, I did my master's in psychology. It's around three
Mhm.
4 years back. And where I how I landed to psychology, because when I was learning about UX around 10 12 years back, because before that we were kind of web designers, right? When I was with
जी.
Walmart and Microsoft, we were not UI designers, not UX designers. I'm talking about 2008-9 story. We were not talking UX at all. And then everyone started talking about UX. Then I learned UX, and then somehow I started to understand that the basics of all the UX learnings is all psychology. It's all coming from UX, from all the
Absolutely.
psychological laws. So all the laws, whatever you use, whether you use Gestalt theory, you use Miller's law in your credit cards, all the basics are coming from there. So I generated more interest and went into learning more about that. And I planned my master's in psychology. And that gave me a lot of interest in this. I started learning a lot about the research part as well. And while doing that, I saw a gap that a lot of people, first of all, they don't connect psychology with UX. That was one gap.
Mhm.
Second, when they learn about psychology, they realize psychology is a lot about theory. And I don't know how do I connect that theory with the actual practical world. I don't know how do I use the Gestalt theory, or how do I use Miller's theory, or how do I use Hicks law and all those stuff in my design that I don't know. Even if they learn, it's like a lot of jargons, a lot of theory to remember, and it's a lot to confuse. Hicks law versus Fitts law, I'll confuse very easily. That okay, what was
Right.
this, what was that? So I saw this gap. So that was kind of an origin of this book, where I come with this big psychology of UX design, where I have kind of tried to bridge the gap between this theory and practical. So this book is a good collection of all the very important laws on very important psychological effects and gamification and biases primarily, and it has a lot of good examples. When I say examples, primarily for Indian audience, is a great one because it has the examples from most of the B2C apps that we have been using almost every day, which is like Myntra, Flipkart, Amazon, Swiggy, Cred, Book My Show, Make My Trip, a lot of different apps that we have been using a lot. And when you look at this book, you'll realize, oh, I have been using this feature for long, and this is happening because of this particular one. I am in completing this particular process because this kind of gamification law is being used, and because of that, I am doing. So now they can connect that okay, how is this helping in my real world? And that was kind of my origin to help the people and touchwood. Because of that only, this is kind of a working great, and I have my inbox is full with a lot of great feedbacks, and of course I shared few, and a lot of people have written on Amazon as well. Around 8 9 people. Touchwood is around 5 stars, and it's been bestseller from the very first week only. Glad to see. It took me around 10 months to complete this book. And I'll be honest that, yeah, I had never thought about I'm going to write a book, because I was like, okay, 300 pages, how will I even write? So it's kind of test to myself, and I kind of succeed, and it feels overwhelmed when you see the kind of UX community is also kind of welcoming it and giving me great feedback. It kind of encourages me to maybe think about the next steps.
Interesting. I'm a psychology fan myself, so I keep dabbling into it here and there, reading about it. And so it's so
Interesting.
interesting when you connect psychology and not only UX design, psychology and brand design, psychology and
Correct.
market research, psychology and consumerism. It's all connected with psychology because at the end of the day, it's simple consumer behavior. Right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
yes, so
Yes.
a book like that was super needed. And so yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay.
Coming
Okay.
towards the next part of our conversation, I want to kind of get your inputs on what are some common pitfalls to avoid in the UX design process that beginners should be aware of.
I'll have a lot of point around this because, as I said, that I've been meeting a lot of students very often.
Right.
I've been to a lot of university a lot, and being a UX professional, I have to hire as well a lot of time. And
Mhm.
while hiring, I do struggle. My team do struggle a lot because there's a lot missing in what we get in a CV and in a portfolio. So if I talk about the
The
people who are
misconception
trying
will be
to,
the one thing.
yeah, misconception, yes, of course, it is one. People have no idea what exactly they're going to do. They have no
Mhm.
idea how does UX team work. So whenever I
Mhm.
go to and meet the students, I try to at least bridge that gap, that you understand what you're learning in the college and what exactly is happening in the world. When you're coming to the office, you should know, like, if a
Right.
UX designer is working, where the work is coming from, where the PM stand, where the techie stand, where the kind of testing team stand. So how is this complete world look alike? That information and knowledge is kind of missing. That is a kind of big problem that I see, because again, they have a different kind of understanding that how and what they're going to work. So I try my level best to kind of bridge that gap, that they do understand this world before even entering this world. That's kind of one
Mhm.
big thing.
Right.
um when they learn a lot, they do learn a lot of processes in a lot of colleges and a lot of schools. I have been seeing they do learn a lot of process, and they feel that this is the most important process that I cannot live without. something of that
Mhm.
sort. And if you look at any portfolio, there's a problem number one they are trying to solve with the help of maybe 8 or 10 process, and ultimately they have come to this conclusion that okay, this is the best solution we can go with. And I used to ask them, okay, your out of your 10 process, if I remove your process number 4, whatever, whether it's maybe suppose empathy mapping, just for example, maybe card sorting, if I remove that, what is going to change? And
Nothing.
they are like kind of, I'm not sure. So that is where I've been questioning them that look, you guys are doing the process just to convey me that you know the process. That's not the goal. It is not the buffet of all the process which is your portfolio. It's not. Don't try to overdo your process in your portfolio, because for me it's very easy to find out that this process was not needed here. It's very much often. So first of all, it's very important that try to make sure that which is actually the important process, do that. Don't overdo, don't make your portfolio like a buffet that hey, I know card sorting, so I have added card sorting in my process. No, don't do that. So that's how I keep saying that connect the threads. What is the impact of process number 1 to process number 2? If it's not connecting, if it's not helping, please do remove that. There's no point. um, Second point I see, people do back calculations in your portfolio. Since they don't know how to connect the dot from problem to solution from start to end, they'll do it opposite. They got some problem, they could think of some solution, they literally design the stuff, visual is ready. Now visual is ready, they are convinced that this is the awesome visual. Now since I have to make a case study, so now I'll do back calculation. Since this is the visuals, now I'll make the wireframe for that. For that, now I'll make a task flow. For the task flow, I'll work on the persona. For the persona, so they are going from solution to problem to kind of a build their portfolio and the case study. And when I'm coming and looking at your portfolio, I'll ask, okay, you have this kind of persona, or you did this empathy mapping. Whatever the learning, and how do you use that learning in the next steps? Now they've not thought about this because they are doing back calculation. So where I see kind of this wasted their time, that wastes our time, because portfolios looks beautiful because a lot of tools available. Figma community has a lot of Figjam file available. Canva has a lot of things available. So open files are very easily available to make your portfolio look awesome, interesting, beautiful. All I will just request that please be honest. That is the most important stuff, because if you're not honest, you'll make a beautiful portfolio for sure. And if you're not able to justify, you're wasting your time, my time, and also you're kind of not upskilling. So please be a little honest. Then it's kind of a less like I'm not wasting my own time, even you're not wasting your own time, and then it can be impressive. And then only you're learning. Otherwise, just more of just copying, pasting. And I know there's a rush in the market. A lot of people are looking for, and people are struggling, and so are we. Even the organizations are struggling to find a cream people, because people feel that since I did 3 months course, 6 months course, now I'm a designer, so I should be landing after my job. You might land if your portfolio is awesome, if your understandings are better. I mean, every person has different uh, uh, phase or different speed of learning. Few people might learn in 6 months, possible. Think of people have been doing BDS, MDS for a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, and then still they might not be coming to the best jobs. So these three fourth of stuff, yes, portfolio, be honest, don't overdo the process, and of course, portfolio, beautiful portfolio is one of the very important part. One more thing, sorry, I just got to miss one more thing that I do face a lot, that there has been a perception in the market or in the students world nowadays that UX is here, UI is here, and graphic is here somewhere. So if I'm a UX designer, I'll be do the UX. Why will I do UI? Or why will I do graphics? Why will I do the visual part? It's not my job. This is a visual designer's job. That's a big problem that I have been seeing in the industry nowadays. People feel that I'm a problem solver. I'll solve the problem, and then I'll pass the wireframe to a visual guy, and he or she will design, and then done. That's what my job is, and I don't need to even get into the visual part. And that's a very wrong perception. Somehow I'll say that at the early stage, you should try to do it yourself. It's very important to make your hands dirty in visual, UX, UI, everything. Then only you can grow. You will know the pain point. Even if you are in a organization where UX means problem solving to up to wireframe, maybe you are not supposed to do visual, maybe at least you should have a understanding of your perception, that how are you imagining this UI to be, so that you can guide your visual guy, or you can at least give a right brief to the UX guy or your visual guy. That perception should not be coming, that no one is up and down in the industry. A lot of places, yes, UX people are doing UI. A lot of places, UI people are doing visual as well. So there's a very thin line. And at the early stage, I would say let's not have that line. Learn all those things, because when you learn all those, you're more confident. And ultimately, when you become a manager or director or something after maybe whatever years, that's going to be helpful for you. So don't have these misperceptions actually, and that will help you grow.
Absolutely. These are great advice. And as we're saying these things, I've been part of the learnings of the product design industry a bit as well. With the I can draw all the parallels with the brand design industry because there the thought is similar that strategy is here, design is here, probably graphics is here. And that's not helpful. When you're starting, yes, you can have a strategy in your mind, but if you at the core, if you don't know how implementation works yourself, the strategy becomes baseless. And
Exactly.
so,
So
yes, later when you're handling like $100,000 clients, then it's fine. You can do $50,000 worth of strategy. Other
yeah,
person does $50,000 worth of design. For a five
exactly. Day
thousand dollar
one,
project, you have to do it yourself.
correct. And day one, you cannot be very niche. Try to be like
Yes.
learn everything, because then at the end of maybe a decade, you'll be niche into one, and then you'll be like the best in one thing or something of that sort.
Mhm.
But yeah, if day one, if your goal is that, then no, you're going to struggle in future, and
Right.
that perception is not taking you ahead. Yeah.
Every one of us has read all the maths principles and physics principles,
Yes.
and then you niche down into becoming a rocket scientist or an automobile engineer. Makes
Correct.
sense.
Yes.
Makes total
Yes.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Very important.
So, concretely, how will you advise someone young to like start their career in UX, considering the rise in competition? If you had to advise the new product designer to upskill themselves or stand out from the crowd, hello, how will you do?
So one thing I said that yes, if someone has luxury of, a financial luxury and also the
Mhm.
luxury of time, then I'll highly recommend that you go and complete the course like BDES, MDES. That is one core thing that is going to help you. That builds your foundation, and
Mhm.
that gives you understanding about the basics of design. You understand the basics of psychology, user, all the process, graphics, fonts. You go and learn those things very deeper for a couple of years or more than a couple of years to know deeply, if you have that luxury. And why I'm saying if you have the luxury, because I am meeting a lot of people who are now working somewhere, and now they want to transition because they realize that they're not going to grow. Suppose there is someone in graphics, someone in architecture, and they're like, oh, I'm done, I think I'm not growing and I need to change. So then you might not have the luxury to go back to the school, because this is dependent now. I mean, you have family to feed, you have some earnings, you cannot go back to zero and restart. I tell you, similar stuff. I was the graphics. From graphics I moved to web. I did not start UI UX from day one. So in those cases, of course, you have no option to go back to college or go back to school for a couple of years. Then in those places, yes, what comes are like those crash courses, small courses, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever is feasible for you. Try to figure out the best one. I mean, industry or the market is full of such colleges and such uh, uh, online courses nowadays. Uh, Try to figure out the best one which is going to work for you as per the industry norms, as per the feedbacks. I'll not name any, there are a lot. uh, but what I see is most important for the people who are learning. Try to learn from few people who are actually in the industry. So whether you learn from a college or an institute or online courses, try to see that are you going to get the exposure from the people who are actually working somewhere, because that world is very different. Someone who is in academics, he or she has been in academics, on for them this particular process number one has been very important, which have been completely removed by few people who are already working, because they realize this is not working for me and I'm okay to remove that and I'll work on the process number two. Something of that sort is happening. So try to get that, how you can get the exposure from the folks who are in industry. And when I say exposure, you don't need to figure out always directors, VPs kind of people. Even a manager, lead, or senior designers can help you to understand the industry, to tell you how does this world work, how and what to learn. So try to learn from the people who are in industry. That is very important one. Um, there are a lot of communities nowadays. I mean, one of those is of course Rethinking UX, where I am founder. There's a lot more, and those places kind of gives you opportunity to meet such people very often. So try to utilize those opportunity to meet such people. There are a lot of design meetups happening in, at least in tier one cities for sure, like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore is happening a lot. I'm not sure about tier two. Few tier two are also doing nowadays good. So all I'm trying to say that try to meet more UX folks in the industry. learn from those, because that is the practical examples that you're going to learn, and you will know exactly what to do, not just what to learn. Of course, theories are important. Learn the theories is very important one. And also, I feel that you have to be joining some courses, some cohorts for sure, because in my eyes, what it does, it just brings discipline in you. Otherwise, same thing you might be learning for years, but not concluded because you're actually working somewhere. You're not out of your job. So you're not completely in problem that, hey, my salary is not coming kind of. So you take it lightly when you have no discipline. So I always suggest the people whoever I meet who are aspiring or trying to transition from one to UX now, that get some course, because, or if you are a person who is completely disciplined one, then maybe you can do it yourself, self study. But if not, please do join somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere you join so that you're disciplined. Meet the UX folks very often, understand how others are doing, and also uh, one most important stuff becomes your portfolio. Your portfolio has to be rich. If you see 10 years back, the level of Behance and level of people had on their own portfolios were very different versus when you look today. Sometimes I feel that, hey, I'm not able to make such and being at this 20 years experience and all, because the level of UI has gone way above. And with the help of a lot of tools, and because also the industry has been changing, things are changing, you have to learn those things very often. And if you're doing those great, then only your CV is being shortlisted, then only someone is looking at your portfolio. Because the fact is, since the market is not that great, I'll be very honest, that's the reality. Market is not that great as of now. And when you apply for a job, when you apply, the person who is an employer, they have at least 2000 CV minimum, that I can guarantee. All the good companies has at least 2000, 3000 CV the moment they post even a single role of UX designer or senior UX designer. That's the reality, and I'm saying it with experience. Think of the person has 2000 CVs, they have to hire one person, they have 2000 portfolios. Of course, they're not going to take 6 months to hire, they have a month or 2 months to hire. Think of that, how much time he or she is going to spend on your portfolio. So remember that your portfolio is going to get maybe 10, 20, 30 seconds initially. If your first fold is impressive, then someone is going to scroll down. If they're going to scroll down, they have to figure out that this is exciting enough to stay. So you have to figure out how do you grab the eyeballs of the people who are going to look at the portfolio. Even if it's awesome, interesting stuff at the last fold, maybe people will not reach. So that psychological thing you have to create, that how someone will look at your first fold, will generate some interest. Now I want to spend some more time, then I'll go deeper, and then I will showcase how do I generate value. And then, so portfolio making itself has become a kind of a very interesting storytelling from your side, that how do you tell your story, how do you tell the employer that you need me, I am someone who can do something of this sort. So yeah, these are few stuff. And when you're transitioning, of course, your portfolio becomes a key. Interesting portfolio becomes a key. Kind of a do a comp analysis, right? That's one of the process that we do, competition analysis, right? Do comp analysis for yourself, because you are one of those 1 lakh of CVs.
Right.
Do that, look that how they are making portfolio, how can you differentiate yourself, how can you make yourself stand out so that someone wants to hire you. uh, that's what I mean. That's also one of the UX project for you. How do you get hired? You need to learn that. That's going to be helpful.
Absolutely. This is so comprehensive advice and it makes sense. What you were
Yeah,
saying is called, I think it's called arbitrage in the startup world, right? Or leverage. So you have to find your leverage. Communities like
correct.
Rethinking UX, reaching out to people like you who can, of course, be helpful. Even if not that, then reading books and like
Yes.
getting your information from places which are credible and places which are kind of different and experienced. That gives you newer levels of thinking. And always, of course, your portfolio is the king. Just like
Yes.
users is the king for startups, portfolio is your king. So focus on it, optimize it. Towards the end,
Correct.
I would love to know your opinion on the elephant in the room, AI. We have to talk about it. And more than AI, if I have to know, if I have to like get your input on it, where do you think, or how do you think the UX role will evolve, especially with spatial UI and spatial computing and all?
One thing I have been saying, a lot of people, that people are scared that, yeah, AI is coming and I'm going to lose a job. That happens a lot because is going to replace us and all the stuff. And I've been asking that, I don't know if people are for like a decade back, if you started, uh, there's only one tool that you used to see when you had to design, and that was Photoshop. No one was looking at anything else other than Photoshop. I tell you, when I started my career, I learned Photoshop and CorelDRAW 20 years back, 2003 or 4. And after that, I took a break from my study just to learn or experience, because I went to some job, worked for a couple of months to learn that, okay, now I'm expert in Photoshop. Now I'll do the stuff. That built
Mhm.
my confidence. Now I'll go next. But what happened? Industry changed, right? 10 years back, Flash was the king for animation. Now no
Right.
one is using Flash. So what we did when Photoshop was the king, suddenly what happened? UX came in the market, Sketch came in the market, people started moving to Sketch. What we did we say that, hey, if I don't know Sketch, I'll lose the job? No. What we did, we learned Sketch immediately because Sketch was a new thing in the market. Suddenly, Sketch is kind of disappeared nowadays in the market. Figma has become a major monopoly in the
Mhm.
market. No one ever said that, hey, if I don't know Figma, I'll lose the job. No complaints. Just learn Figma as soon as possible. Similarly, I will say Gen AI is coming, learn that. Don't be scared that that's going to kill your job. If you're not learning, of course, because if you're not learning, if
Yes.
you have not learned Figma 5 years back, maybe then also you would have been in problem. So don't make it like a kind of a big hype around it. That's what my thing
Mhm.
is. I personally feel that yes, this has opened a lot of doors for innovations, and because of AI, now I'm able to innovate in different direction that I was not able to do earlier. So a lot of tools a lot of features we are developing in Myntra only, like Maya, Fashion GPT, and a lot of different stuff we are working that we could have not thought of if there was no Gen AI.
Mhm.
But because of Gen AI, we have not removed any designer. No. What we have done, now we are kind of encouraging that how do you become more efficient in your work? How do you innovate something that we could have never thought of without AI 2 years back? So we are utilizing those things to make the things better. Also, we do a lot of repetitive work, right, in UX. I meet 20 users, I have a lot of data. Now somebody had to synthesize the data. Someone had to spend a lot of time on this. AI can do in minutes. Why not I use this? And that 2 days I'll use in something else. I'll do maybe 20 more interviews. I was doing 20 interviews, now I can do 30 interviews because my synthesis time I'm going to save. So figure it out that how you are going to kind of help work on your complete process so that you become more efficient. That is more important. Don't make a lot of hype around AI. Use AI. I'll say use AI as one of your intern. Keep passing the work to him or her, whoever you think, and utilize that work. Don't spend or don't waste your time doing repetitive work that AI can do very good. Pass it to it. You do the unique stuff. You do the next level job. You do the next level of innovations that you can do. And there's a lot of possibilities. Yes, I would say learn these tools, learn about whatever new technology is coming, and then you can do great. So don't make it a hype. It's just use
Right.
it.
At the end of the day, the common human problems and the common human need for newness and innovation will remain. So it's just that now we'll move into solving bigger problems, better problems, and yeah, we'll be there like a drunk intern figuring things out.
Correct. And I also think
Right.
that a lot of people have been developing a lot of AI features and going to start the user journey from there. That is where the
Mhm.
problem is coming. You are
True.
thinking that I'll make a new feature which is built by AI and people would love it. Versus, why don't you think of journey where users are into right now, and in their journey you put the AI. What Google
Mhm.
did, when you search on Google now, Google shows the results at the left and right side come the results from Gemini. You had not
Right.
gone to Gemini that, hey, Gemini, tell me. Now what is doing? This is the normal result, this is Gemini result. Now you might adopt Gemini. I did not force the user to start a new journey. I put the solution in the next journey only. That
Absolutely.
is how it's going to help people. So you have to figure out how do you help your users. Don't that how do you sell AI to the users. That's not the core job, and that is what not the users are going to love. They're not coming here to
True.
learn from you. They have here for the completion of some tasks. Just help them.
Awesome. This was such a fun conversation. Loved your insights. Super comprehensive. Thanks for your time, Alok. This was
Thank you so
great.
much, Brad. It's glad to meet you, and thanks for calling me. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.